On this week's episode, I'm joined by Steve Andrews, or as he's otherwise known, the Bard of Ely. Steve is originally from Wales. He's an author, a poet, a musician, an environmental activist, a herbologist, and his beard is green. And this is some of his story. Welcome back, or welcome to another episode of Portugal, The Simple Life. And I'm really excited and delighted to be joined here by Steve Andrews. Steve, hi, and thank you for joining us.
Hi, Dylan, and thank you for inviting me on your podcast. It's good to be here.
Well, you're another first. You're the first guest on the podcast that's got a green beard. So, but I think we might have a couple of other firsts as we go along. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. And I don't know if there's that many green beards around. I certainly don't see many. And,
not in Portugal.
It gets me noticed.
Yeah, for sure. Steve, why don't you just start off by giving us a short introduction about yourself and telling us a little bit about you?
A short introduction. I'll
try.
I'm originally from Wales, from Cardiff in Wales. My real name is Steve Andrews, but I'm also very commonly known as the Bard of Ely. And Ely, not Eli, because some people say Eli. And this is not Ely in Cambridge. This is Ely in Cardiff, which is a huge estate there. And Shaking Stevens is actually from Ely as well. He's a famous person. And I'm actually on a website, Wikipedia, calling me a notable person from Ely, along with Shaking Stevens. I'm also called a famous Cardiffian, according to two websites. But I left Cardiff and I went to live in Tenerife for 9 years. And then after that, I moved here to Portugal, and I've been here 5.5 years now. And I'm living in a town called Quinta do Conde, and a lot of people don't know where that is, so I better explain that. It's between Lisbon and Setúbal and Sesimbra. So if you go out of Lisbon, you go towards Setúbal, you will find this place. And what else? I'm a singer-songwriter. I'm an author. I'm a poet. I'm a naturalist. This is most important. I'm a naturalist, conservationist, and activist. I have been a TV presenter, but that was long ago. And I better explain about the Bard of Ely while I think of it. I used to write for Big Issue magazine in the UK in 1998, and they used to call me the Bard of Ely. So whatever I was talking about, it was Bard of Ely investigates.
What does it? I mean, what does it mean? What does Bard mean?
Yeah, thank you for asking that, Dylan. But certainly, I do get asked this, especially by Americans who don't seem to know what a bard is. A bard is a poet, a musician, a performer, a minstrel, and certainly in the UK. They have like bardic competitions. For example, I'm from Wales, and they have a thing called the Eisteddfod, which is a gathering for people to do artistic stuff like read poetry, play music. The bardic tradition is being poetic minstrel type.
Okay, and then Ely is being the place that you're from in Wales.
And Ely was the place in Cardiff where I was living, which was a big estate in Cardiff. And Big Issue Cymru, because it was the Welsh version of the Big Issue, knew that I was a singer-songwriter and poet, so they called me the Bard of Ely, which was in fact true, because I was living in Ely. And so that kind of name stuck with me, but I'm also known as Green Beard because I've got one. And shall I explain a bit about that? Because people
what's with the green beard? Yeah, tell us.
Okay, well, what happened with that is in 2003, I was in the Green Man Festival, which is quite a well-known festival now. That was when it kicked off, which was in 2003. And it was held in Brecon, which is a town in Wales.
Okay.
And I was an MC, somebody that was going on and off stage, presenting the acts and talking between the sets. And I was also a performer. So I was doing two things. I was on and off as an MC, and I was also on playing guitar and singing my songs. And at the time, I had like a little goatee beard, and it was going grey. You know, I am, you know, my hair is grey. And I thought, okay, what shall I do for this Green Man Festival? I'll put a bit of green in my beard because that'll be cool. It'll sort of go with the image of the festival. And also it goes with my image because I'm into nature. And so it's a reflection of me. It goes with the theme of the festival, Green Man Festival. I'll do it and see how it goes down. And it went down really well. So all day I had people saying, love the beard and that's cool and all this kind of stuff. So I thought, okay, but I wonder what it's, you know, what the kids of Ely are going to make of it in the real world outside the festival. And when I got back to Ely, there were kids in the street saying, like the beard, Steve, that's cool, mate. And all this. So I thought, okay, the young people of Ely like it. The next day I had to go into a bank. And I wonder what they're going to make of it in the bank. The lady behind the counter, she said she liked my beard. I thought, okay, festival goers, teenagers from this estate, and you know, a cashier at the bank all like the beard. So it's a hit. So I think I'll keep it.
Steve, initially, what were, I mean, you've been now in the country for some time, and we'll get into what you're doing and why you're here and why Portugal is a good fit for you. But what were some of those initial things about this place, about this country that grabbed your attention when you first came here?
Well, nature for me, and it's always nature for me. Like, you know, when I first set foot in Portugal, I could just see so many things like butterflies here and all kinds of, you know, amazing vegetation here and birds and frogs and lizards and geckos and all these things. And I was just like, wow, you know. And I just left Tenerife where it was the same but different. So you have lizards over there and geckos and butterflies and all kinds of subtropical vegetation. And so it was like some of that, but also new stuff over here and stuff from the UK. And stuff from the UK doing a lot better over here than it is in the UK, in Britain. So I thought, well, this is amazing, you know. So basically, I fell in love with the amount of wildlife here, which for me is incredible. And also, of course, like just about everybody, I thought the weather here is great as well. I also found the people over here are really friendly and helpful. And so, you know, for me, a wonderful place. So that was my first impressions of Portugal and lasting impressions. You know, I still find the people over here are great and friendly and helpful. I find the weather usually great. I find the wildlife over here fascinating, and it's just a wonderful place. So, yeah.
Beautiful. We'll get on to the wildlife because that'll tie into some of the things that you're busy doing. But just quickly, I mean, you mentioned the village that you're in now. What are some of the other places that you visited in the country that you appreciate?
Okay. I mean, I don't drive and I don't have a car, so I am dependent on public transport or other people with a car. So I haven't actually been to that many places, but I have been to Sintra, which is amazing, as I'm sure you know. I've also been to Porto. I went to Porto in 2016, and I fell in love with that city. I was saying at the time, if you could design a city for me, Porto would be it. I went there primarily with my ex to see Brian Wilson of Beach Boys fame in concert at the Nos Primavera, and that was amazing, which is something else about Portugal, which for me is amazing because I'm a musician. I've been to some incredible concerts here. And anyway, that's why we went to Porto. I just thought, Porto, what a city. You know, it's got everything. It's got markets all over the place, fantastic architecture. It's got incredible public transport. It's got trams and buses and trains and an airport and taxis. And so if you want to get about, you can do that easily. It's got poetry events. It's got music events. It's got a river. It's got sea. It's got parks. It's got wildlife. It was just amazing. So Porto is one place. I've been down the Algarve very briefly. I was invited down by a gardening club to give a talk down there. So I went down and I did that. And the talk was actually on butterfly gardening. The talk went down really well. And I was invited back for another talk. And this time, because my hosts down there knew I'd been living in Tenerife, wanted me to talk about Tenerife. So I did that. So twice I've been down the Algarve, but only like overnight and to give my talk and then back on the train here. Where else have I been? I've been to Ericeira. I remember I went there once, and that was a place which I was very impressed with. And here, where I'm kind of living, I've been to Portinho de Rábida, because this is actually, I mean, I can see if I leave, where I am at the moment and go out, I can see the Rábida mountain range there. And we lived in the Sesimbra area for a year. So I'm also familiar with Sesimbra and a lovely area down there.
Brilliant. Well, Steve, I mean, you're an incredibly busy guy. I mean, I don't know how you have time for all these things. You rattled off a few of the things that you've been up to. You're an author, a musician, a poet, an activist, all these different things. But maybe just give us a sort of an overview of some of the things that you're up to at the moment.
Okay.
I know you brought props as well, so
where to start?
That you want.
Right. Well, let's see. I'm actually very active. Not at this particular moment in time, but in general, with promoting something which is an ongoing project, which is going to be massive. A couple of years ago, I wrote a song called "Where Does All the Plastic Go?" And that song is actually on this CD here, which was produced by Jace Lewis in Wales. And anyway, the song, "Where Does All the Plastic Go?" kind of speaks for itself. It's a protest song about plastic pollution, and I came up with the idea as well for Ocean Aid concerts. I'm sure it was Band Aid, and then I'm sure you've heard like Live Aid, and I thought, okay, well, ideally, if we could have some Band Aid concerts with really big stars and big stadium venue or something, that would be amazing. But that was an idea. And the whole thing, the plastic pollution, my plastic pollution song, for example, this is the Portugal news. And I don't know if you can see there. And I'm also on the front. And on the front page, if you can see, there we are, that bit there. And it says, "Singing Against Pollution," page 11. And for the last year, I've been a part of the Rue and Who show from New York. And a little bit about that, Rue, it's Rue Starr. She's a well-known musician, singer, songwriter, actress from New York. And because of the pandemic, we can't do actual gigs. So people have been doing stuff online, on Zoom, which we're on right now. So anyway, I got to be part of Rue's Rue and Who show. And I started doing, my song about plastic on there and my butterfly song, which I'll get to in a bit. And one of the regulars on there, Joel Landy, who is a musician from New York, said he thought I'd be a great guest on the Ecologic show from New York. So I said, yeah, see if you can sign me up for that, which he did. So I was on there talking about plastic pollution, doing my song, talking about the Ocean Aid thing. All of this goes into something else, which is that I have a book which I've written. Okay, well, I just mentioned it. I've written a book called "Saving Mother Ocean," and I am collecting endorsements for it at the moment. I've got another 2 days, then no more endorsements. The publisher wants them all in, and it's going to be published this summer. And this is amazing because I don't know if you know, but usually if you get a book published, you have to wait 10 months, a year before after you've got it accepted, there's then like a waiting time. This one was being rushed through, and I got to write the book very quickly. I found out about all this maybe 3 months ago, and my publisher was looking for somebody to write a book on this particular subject for the series they were doing. And I said, well, look, Trevor, I'm already doing all this. I've got my Ocean Aid idea. I got my song about plastic pollution. I'm in the media anyway. He said, all right, Steve, you've got the job. But he wanted it done quickly. I had like 6 weeks to write it in. I did all that. He's congratulated me on that, on this achievement of getting it all done. And now, so that's going to be happening this summer. I've got the artwork is all done. There are 7 illustrations which are going in the book. The endorsements have been coming thick and fast, which I'm really pleased about. As I say, I've got Captain Paul Watson is looking at it now. Lily Platt, she's a 13-year-old global ambassador, youth ambassador, also famous for picking up plastic and running Lily's plastic pickup. She's a personal friend of Greta Thunberg and has been to one of the many summits with Greta. And so she's endorsed it. And so who else is it? I'm just thinking Alan Herrera. Alan Herrera is a film director, most famous for his film about the Kogi Mamas from Colombia. I don't know if you've heard of them, and many people haven't, but these are an amazing tribe of people that live in the mountains in Colombia. And they gave a warning to the world in 1990 about that we have to stop doing all these things which we're doing, which is destroying the planet. And he made the documentary about them, which was on BBC Two.
Wonderful. Sounds exciting. I mean, it's quite an interesting coincidence, or maybe not a coincidence, Steve. I'm sure you're aware of how old and precious Portugal's relationship with the sea is. So it's quite interesting that you're doing this Ocean Aid and the book Saving Mother Ocean, and you're sitting here in Portugal where there's this old and beautiful relationship with the sea. It's quite incredible. And tell us a little bit about your work with as a herbologist as well. You do a little bit of of that.
Okay. This is a book of mine, Herbs on the Sun, Moon, and Planets. This is one of my herb books. I've got another 2. And this book I'm particularly proud of. And I've given talks on this book. Basically, what I always start with is I say, people are going to be wondering, well, how can you have herbs on other planets? Of course, you can't. What it's about is that the ancient Romans and Greeks had gods and goddesses that they believed were associated with various planets. For example, Mars was the god of war, Venus was the goddess of love. And so they looked for characteristics of different herbs, and so that they could then assign a particular god or goddess to a herb as the ruler. And so, for example, Mars was the god of war, so they used to think if a herb has got something aggressive about it, maybe it's got like a spiky leaf, or then it can be associated with war and violence and Mars. And so this plant here, which is the dragon tree, was an ideal candidate for being ruled by Mars because it's got spiky leaves and, which is really weird about it, if you actually cut it, it's got a red sap, which they call dragon's blood. So that's like bloods, again, something to do with war. And it's got red berries, again, red. And so they decided that the dragon tree would be a herb ruled by Mars. The rose has always been associated with love. That was ruled by Venus. Jupiter is a gas planet. And so you think about gas, it's something which can expand and go out and about. So expansion is one of the characteristics of something ruled by Jupiter. So we find in the Jupiter, there were lots of trees are ruled by that particular planet. So the pine tree is ruled by Jupiter. The lime tree is ruled by Jupiter. And when I started writing this book, I was thinking about, well, how did these herbalists actually conclude or come to decision about which herb to put under which god or goddess? And I thought, okay, expansion, I understand. The trunk goes up and then the branches of the tree expand out like a gas. So, that's how that came about. The moon was interesting because there were herbs of the moon. For example, the water lily is a herb of the moon. Why? Because it's got a round leaf like a moon. And not only that, the water lily grows in water. Water is associated with the moon because the moon controls the tides. So that there was a kind of logic that you could follow as to how these herbalists decided on, which herb went under which planetary ruler. So that's
Amazing.
what my book is about.
Okay, it sounds interesting. And then butterflies. Tell us a little bit. You got a nice butterfly shirt there. Tell us about your work with that.
Especially for the show. Butterflies is a massive part of my life. I mean, so massive, incredible. I mean, I'll just show you briefly here. I've got, this is a magazine I used to write for in Portugal, which was Mediterranean Gardening and Outdoor Living. The first issue I wrote for had this on the cover, and see if I can find my art. There we are. That was the first article I did, which was on butterfly gardening. And I've got, well, this isn't my book. Well, it's my book, I own it, but I didn't write this. This is a Portuguese book, which I really recommend, on the borboletas of Portugal. And so, because I'm fascinated by nature, if I move into another country, in this case, Portugal, I want to know what all the things are that I'm finding. So I got a book, I've been finding so many butterflies here ever since.
Wow.
I've got a song about butterflies.
Can you play it for us?
I'm going to play you the song.
Please.
But before I play you the song, I just got to show you this. The song is actually based on a reality I had a butterfly in my beard, and I have had a butterfly in my beard. And in the second verse, I say, they called me the bug man in the news one time. And there you are. There's the actual news of where they called me the bug man. And they say, catch the bug. And it says, special world of insects for Steve. Bug man Steve Andrews loves coming eye to eye with the insect world. So that's what that's about. And I've actually got, can I show you these? I've got some caterpillars here. Living caterpillars. In here, I got that there. I don't know if you can see caterpillar. Yep. That is a swallowtail caterpillar, okay. And it's on rue, and which I believe is called aruda over here. And this plant is often grown in the gardens, and apparently there's a superstitious, a Portuguese superstitious belief that this wards off evil if you grow the rue in your garden. I was told that, and I thought, well, I'm really glad to hear it, because for this butterfly, it's a lifesaver. This is the one that the caterpillars need. Another caterpillar I've got here, which, if you can see that one, and it's a similar coloration, but this is a monarch butterfly, and this one needs milkweed, which I grow. And as a matter of interest, I get the eggs or the caterpillars of the monarch sent down from Aveiro. There's a guy called Jose who lives in Aveiro, and he has a little butterfly farm. And so I get them from him. But the
Steve, why do you think I mean, we've spoken about it before on the podcast. the diversity that we have in Portugal. And one of the things that I think people don't know a lot about is the diversity of wildlife as well. You talk butterflies here, herbs, these kind of things. Why do you think Portugal has such a diverse and healthy array of butterflies, insects, bugs? What do you think is the secret here?
Well, I think the answers are it's got a very wide range of countryside, which is most important. It's got a lot of forest, which is most important. It's got plenty of fresh water, which again, so it's got all these things which they need. So it's going to have a wide range of insects. It's also usually got really good weather, which for butterflies is ideal. And it's got also a mixture of butterflies and moths from, for example, you could find it in the UK, can also be found over here. And you've got ones which need like a warmer climate. So the monarch butterfly is okay over here. So, you know, it's just an ideal place for them.
Wonderful. Can you sing us a song?
I'm going to sing
about
you
the butterflies,
song.
please.
I'm going to put this butterfly in my beard. Oh, yeah, there's my butterfly in my beard. Now, in this song, Butterfly in My Beard, in the last verse, I say, make a butterfly and fly with me. This is how you make a butterfly. And when I was doing this on the Ruin Who show, I had, like all the others, you know, making butterflies. So, now we do the song. I also say, that's it. That's it, Dylan, you can make a butterfly. Okay. I had a butterfly in my beard, oh yeah. I had a butterfly in my beard, oh yeah. I had a butterfly in my beard. It looked pretty strange, it looked pretty weird. I had a butterfly in my beard, oh yeah. They called me the bug man on the news one time. They called me the bug man on the news one time. They called me the bug man on the news. A hissing cockroach on my head, it got plenty of views. They called me the bug man on the news one time. Now this is the butterfly making verse. Make a butterfly and fly with me. Say yeah. Come on, say yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Make a butterfly and fly with me. Say yeah.
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 Make a butterfly and fly with me. Go anywhere. Be really free. Make a butterfly and fly with me. Say yeah. Well,
yeah.
The last verse one more time. One more time. So I want to see the butterflies being made. Come on. Oh, make a butterfly and fly with me. Say yeah. Yeah. Make a butterfly and fly with me. Say yeah. Yeah. Make a butterfly and fly with me. Go anywhere and be really free. Make a butterfly and fly with me. Say yeah. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Steve. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Steve, nature is such a huge part of your life. And we've spoken a little bit about Portugal's weather and about the climate and the forest and the ocean. What do you want people to know about the nature here? What do you appreciate about the nature here in Portugal? Why do you like it so much?
Okay, well, this is something I tell people. So I'm going to be telling all of you, the viewers now, is that I think that Portugal is very important because we've got such a wide variety of wildlife over here, and also wildlife that's been lost from places like the UK. And I think that we need to look after wildlife we've got here. This is most important. And part of the reason, like I help to look after butterflies, and I like to help, or to hope rather, that I can inspire other people to have a go at helping the butterflies as well, and everything else. You know, like as I say, there's a lot of frogs over here, and there's salamanders and newts, many different types of amphibians. And so if you've got a garden, you can have a garden pond, fantastic, because then, you know, that's a place that the frogs and the newts and the salamanders can go. And we've got so many different forms of wildlife over here that can be helped. And I'm just going to say something about this town that I'm in, Quinta de Conde. And I was so happy about this. I thought, this is so wonderful. These are Portuguese people really, you know, looking out for wildlife here. There were some guys working on a block of apartments here. And they put like all sort of covering over it. And they were doing painting and refurbishment. And what was worrying me is that there were some house martins sort of nesting in the topmost floor of the block. I thought, oh God, those house martins, you know, how are they going to survive this? What are the guys working on it going to do? And you know what they did? They left a gap in the covering that was coming down all over the building so the birds could fly in and out. The birds continued feeding their chicks in the nests while all the work went on. They didn't get kind of freaked out by the fact that the work was going on. They continued. And when they finally got to the top floor, which they were painting all the walls, the guys doing all that, they painted all around the nests and they left them there, and the birds stayed there all the way through. Eventually, they removed all the scaffolding and all the covering, and they left. And it's there to this day. There are 4 nests of the house martin on the top of the wall, in the topmost apartment, and the birds were going in and out. And I saw that, and I thought, yeah, well, that is wonderful. That is how it should be. People, sort of working alongside nature and respecting nature and helping it. And that to me was a wonderful thing to see. And that's here in Quinta de Conde.
Have you found that in Portugal, has that been your experience, that there is this general consideration, one for the environment around us, nature? Of course, it could always be better, and then also two, consideration for each other, for people in general. Have you felt that since being here?
Well, yes, I have found the people over here are, as I said earlier, very helpful, very friendly. And I think sometimes maybe with nature, I mean, I just give you an outstanding example of these people working and alongside nature and not harming it. But sometimes, you know, it does go the other way, that there are people who are harming nature, and that's unfortunate. I mean, I come from the UK, as you know, and it saddens me to see, you know, what's happened over there. Like, the UK has been called one of the most nature-depleted countries in the world. I mean, which is awful, you know. And like they're chopping trees down over there all the time, and they're building like a train line over there, the HS2 train line. I don't know if you know about this, and it's going through woodland and there's a lot of people protesting about all that over there, but you know, it's really sad to see how Britain, the countryside, is being destroyed and the wildlife. And what I say about Portugal is that we still have a lot of fantastic countryside over here. We still have fantastic wildlife over here, and I think you know, it's important, you know, that if we can preserve that. We got the new problems of the wildfires, you know, and that's a problem for wildlife, a problem for people, a problem for the country. But the more that we can do, you know, to try and help nature, And for example, like, you know, when you have wildfires, you can start to plant trees again, which is being done. That there are people planting native trees, and anything that anybody can do, really, you know, to help nature is worth doing, in my opinion. It's a message in my book. It's what I'm saying in my Saving Mother Ocean book, that anything we can do, it doesn't matter what you do, as long as you do something, is my message.
How have you been received here in Portugal and welcomed and heard?
Well, I tell you, I think I've been received really well over here. And I think I've shown you an example. Like, I've been on the front page of this newspaper. I've got this wonderful place that I'm living in. And as a musician, I've had, it's been fantastic. Before the pandemic, I was playing in Lisbon, and I played in a club there, Camone Cine Bar, and I went down really well there. I did my butterfly song, and there was an art college, an art school there, the Antonio Arroyo Art School, and I'd been invited to play there like many times. And the students there, fantastic. I've had a whole, for example, well, I'm just going to come to something else now. In 2017, I was on Britain's Got Talent in the UK, and I did Stand By Me. Now, Simon Cowell didn't like it, so I didn't get it any further because of Simon. But when I did Stand By Me, I got a lot of the audience came up on the stage to stand by me and to sing and join in the song, which is why Simon didn't like it. But anyhow, around the same time, I did Stand By Me at the Antonio Arroyo Art School in Lisbon. And I've got a video of this, and I've got a whole load of the students all behind me. There's an Italian guy, a Jose, who was playing electric guitar, and so he's backing me. I'm playing the acoustic guitar and singing. We're doing the song Stand By Me. There's all the students behind us, and they're all kind of jigging about and waving their arms and joining arms and dancing, and it's fantastic. And so that's the kind of audience participation I could get in Lisbon. And to me, you know, it means a lot. Like, when you can get an audience joining in, it's the audience is enjoying it, you're enjoying it. It's fantastic. And that's part of the reception. You asked me, like, what kind of reception I've had here. I've had fantastic reception as a musician. And so, of course, I love that. You know, it encourages me. I want to play to people who like what I'm doing.
And how about as a person? What kind of reception have you had just as Steve, walking down the street?
I've had a lot of good stuff happening with that. I've actually had, like, young people here in this town I live in telling me that I've got the coolest beard in Quinta do Conde. I've had people at a bus stop ask me if they can take a photo of me with the beard and with them in the photo. I've had people even stopping cars here to say, you know, that they like the beard and can they take a photo. So, yeah, I mean, the beard has been a hit with people here in Portugal. And as I said, I've also found, you know, people here are very helpful in general. And, you know, it's great.
I mean, what do you think people should be proud of? What do you think Portuguese people should be proud of in regards to this country and who they are as a people? We've mentioned some of the nature things, but what do you think Portuguese should be proud of?
Well, I think one thing which to me stands out is the cosmopolitan nature of Portugal. You've got people here from all over the world mixing together. And so you've got also with that a mixture of all sorts of cultures here. So if you go to a city like Lisbon, there's anything and everything there. You know, it's a kind of a mixture of all the different cultures and arts and cuisine as well. You know, from around the world, it's all in, you know, all together. And I think that's one thing which is great about Portugal. I think, as I say, that the music scene over here is great. And I'm just going to say this as well, which I was going to get into earlier, but I didn't. I told you about I went to see Brian Wilson in Porto. I also went to see Bruce Springsteen at the Rock in Rio, Lisboa, and that was amazing. I also went to see the Hollywood Vampires with Johnny Depp and Alice Cooper, the same event in Lisbon. And what I wanted to say about these outdoor festivals here is that for me, they're fantastic. I'm used to the UK outdoor festivals. And by the way, I've also been an MC at a performer Glastonbury Festival in the UK. Glastonbury Festival in the UK is kind of world renowned now, not only for having the great acts, but for having appalling weather. So, you know, the fields there become underwater, you know, and you're sort of wading through mud and then you have terrible traffic jams over there and disgusting toilets over there. And so I went to these outdoor festivals over here, and what a joy, you know, wonderful weather, dry grass, fairly clean toilets, but not like these terrible toilets in Glastonbury, no terrible traffic jams, all these things wrong with the UK festivals, not here. So for outdoor festivals in Portugal, you know, as a musician and a festival goer, I think are wonderful.
Yeah, we have some good ones. I've seen I've been to some good concerts as well. One of my favorites was Leonard Cohen, many before he passed, here in Lisbon as well, and that was superb.
Leonard, one of my all-time top singer-songwriters, and I'm actually in a book about Leonard Cohen. What about that then?
Steve, I've loved this, and I feel like I could talk forever. But what is one thing that you want people to remember and take away from this conversation?
Butterflies. Butterflies. Caterpillars, butterflies. Butterflies on my shirt, butterflies in my beard, butterflies in this book. Butterflies. And there were so many. And my landlord here, you know, knows obviously that, you know, I look after the butterflies, and he takes photos of the butterflies. He puts them on his Facebook page, and I put pictures of the butterflies here, and I go out walking here, and I find lots of butterflies. And so for me, Portugal is a wonderful place for butterflies.
Brilliant. Okay,
butterflies.
Steve, how can listeners find you and follow you online?
The best way of finding me online is at a site which is bardofely.org. So
okay.
Bard, B-A-R-D-O-F of Ely, E-L-Y, .org, O-R-G, bardofely.org.
Okay.
But basically, if you Google Bard of Ely, you'll probably find too much.
Okay. Okay. So don't Google you, but we'll put a link in the show notes so people can follow you online and see what you're up to and look out for all your future projects. So that's exciting.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Dylan. Yeah. And with the Bard of Ely tag, you know, it's a Bard of Ely. Twitter is @Bard of Ely. Instagram @Bard of Ely. So, you know, okay. Bard of Ely, one word, is how to find me.
Perfect. Steve, a question that we ask all of our guests: Portugal, the simple life. Why?
For me, nature. The simple life, nature. For example, even in the pandemic, okay, which has caused a lot of problems for many people, you can do something pleasurable because we're allowed to go out walking. So you can go out walking in nature, and that's something simple and something very pleasurable, something very important, something very good for your health, and something that I do on a regular basis. Like if I have to go shopping here, I walk to the shops. How do I walk to the shops? I walk through some forest and scrubland that I can walk through, and wonderful to see the butterflies, the flowers, the birds, whatever's there. And that is simple life. And I think when I use the word simple, I think being with nature is a contrast to the technological modern life that we're all caught up in. Yeah, that you can escape to nature by just walking into a wood, or, walk alongside a river, or go to the beach, or, any of these places are nature, and it is simple. And I think that's something which I've already said. In Portugal, we have wonderful countryside, and we have farming areas. We have all these different types of countryside here.
Okay, and wonderful.
The simple life. Go and connect with nature. Go for a walk.
Thank you so much, Steve. I've really enjoyed this conversation. Good luck with the book, with your music, and I hope it all goes well. And for now, I'm going to let you call it.
Okay, well, thank you, Dylan, for having me on your podcast, and it's a wrap.
So thank you once again to Steve, and thank you to all of you for listening. Please subscribe, share with your friends, give us a thumbs up, and please leave a comment or a review. We'd love to hear from you. And as we say in Portugal, um abraço. Welcome to the simple life.